about the Earl's Court project, and the thing that he emphasises is that nothing happens by way of revolution. Things tend to evolve. That enables you to see change over time, and it's really important to make sure that it isn't a grand design from one or two individuals in an ivory tower, but you actually engage with the people that live there, and they can be part of that vision, and that it can change, and that it can change from week to week. And he talks in terms of the Earl's Court project as growing, the village is starting to grow, and it comes together over time. And you hope to see some of the, you get a look into the future rather than trying to master plan every single building. And I think what Deyan was saying is absolutely right. If you try and be too prescriptive about these schemes and try and impose things on people, then you naturally, you're going to get a lot of opposition. But provided you do deal with the issues as they arise, and you're very open about it, and you're prepared to evolve and change your own mindset, don't inflict things on people, then you might get somewhere. Equally, I think it's very important to see the policy shift, and that's why I'm pleased that Eric's joined us today, because the policy shift from the new government is that those communities, those neighbourhoods, are prepared to withstand the problems of being in a building zone for a period of time. Hopefully those communities will benefit from the development, from the growth in jobs, and that the money that we get in terms of planning gain will be spent on in the local area, on local infrastructure, on transport, on new schools for children, on whatever's most needed in that area, and that local people can have a say on what those priorities are. I think it's that approach that needs to be taken.
And Chris, you have the advantage in this area of having a reasonably discrete site with some kind of heavy infrastructure around it and some big buildings that nobody would mind seeing going. I mean, it's not exactly a virgin site, but nor is it a kind of completely locally rooted, close-knit development. I mean, you don't have to demolish that much necessarily to achieve what you might like to achieve.
How shall I answer that? Well, I guess someone made a comment earlier today that we need to de-fortress television centre. This is not about buildings. It's about an organisation that serves Britain and has to get really serious about better serving its audiences. Now, its audiences, the demands placed on us as a result of the digital revolution have changed our lives fundamentally. So we've got to rethink how we do creativity. We'll still strive to deliver great creative output, but that means our buildings, our estate strategy has to change. And if you think about here locally, we've got a huge big building down the road, television centre, which is 50 years old. It's no longer fit for purpose. So we've got to turn that inside out. We've got to really demonstrate the new BBC, the one which is open, which is much more engaging. So how do we work with Stephen and the local authority, the city authority, and other stakeholders to try and do something really different? Big challenge.
Thank you. Martin, there's the relationship between education and research and creativity has been a sort of sub-theme running through a number of today's sessions, and I think you've reinforced that. From your perspective, Imperial has done a lot of buildings and a lot of small version city making and worked with many architects. What do you think the biggest challenges are going to be in achieving your sort of vision for this site?
Well, one challenge is money. It's quite expensive, and universities are not rich. They're not. We're not in the game of making profit, but nor are we in the game of generating huge surpluses. So we have to find the resource to enable us to achieve the objectives, and that means we have to do things with partners. We have to do things which maybe aren't immediately connected with the research and the teaching agenda that we have. But everything fundamentally goes back to the academic mission. Everything we do has to serve the academic mission. If it doesn't serve the academic mission directly or indirectly, then it just won't fly with us. Now you can stretch that definition. You can stretch it a long way, because so many things that we do touch on what other people do. So the built space, the BBC's activities. One of the things that excites us a great deal is the fact that the BBC is bringing their research and development unit, I think, here, and the idea of a strong dialogue between our researchers and BBC's research, I think, is very, very exciting.
Thank you very much. I'd like to draw the audience in if there are any questions for any of the panellists, covering quite a wide range of territory here. Or Secretary of State, are there any remarks you might like to make about this general area of the work of the creative industries in relationship to communities and cities. There's a microphone available if you'd like to, your choice. Thank you.
I suppose you have a choice. You can either sort of take a Baron Haussmann approach and just put the boulevards down and change the nature and sweep things away. But on the course coming here, we were talking about getting local consent for this, and you're taking down areas with actually quite low density and replacing it with more dense housing. And I'd be interested in hearing the panel about taking the very opposite of the sort of Baron Haussmann approach and getting local consent.
Yes, a village, more dispersed, less dirigiste proposition. Deyan?
It's often said that these are two totally opposed approaches, that France and Britain always have utterly different things. But of course, Haussmann learned what to do with Paris from spending time in Queen's Town, which is a model that I think all of us would love. Of course, there's been a kind of sense that high-density housing is important for the future of sustainable cities, but they can also be more challenging to live with. I think the key is to get the density right in a way which is livable.
Stephen?
Well, I sort of in my rather rambly answer talked about evolution rather than revolution and being less dirigiste about it, and also working very closely with the people that are part of the neighbourhood now, and that this has to take place over time. And when we're talking about master plans, they will be built out over 2 recessions, 3 recessions. The upturn, land holding interests change. So I think you do need to take a long-term view. But what I think needs to happen in any part where there's an opportunity for development is to be very clear about, broadly speaking, where the end objective is and what the overall mission is for White City, in the same way we need an overall vision for Earl's Court. And whilst Imperial is coming there with and very clear about everything gets put back into the academic mission, we need something that is the sum, more than the sum of its parts. And I was struck by how creative as a word is a bit of a vacuous term. And if anyone can give it greater definition, is Alan Yentob creative because he doesn't have his tie on? Or is Eric not very creative because he does wear a tie? Or is that everybody who's creative and therefore they can all buy into this vision? But I think we need some clarity over the mission and understanding how that's going to work best for White City without being too prescriptive.
Martin, you have to be pretty clear about your objectives generally as a university when it comes to building, because that isn't your speciality, as it were. It's the academic life. Is there a tendency, therefore, to get very focused and then just deliver what you said you'd do, get on with it?
Well, there obviously is that temptation simply to say that's what the research lab has got to deliver, that's what we need, and therefore we don't care about anything else, we just want facilities for the research. And same with the teaching, we just want X lecture halls or X seminar rooms. But just to come back on something that Stephen said, I don't think that Imperial College is interested in building Fortress Imperial. We're not interested in building a campus that is just for us. I think one of the things we pride ourselves on in South Kent is the fact that we're genuinely part of the community. We have 3,000 students living there, and we have, the idea is that we'll have over 1,000 students living in Woodlands. So we're not interested in building Fortress Imperial where nobody else can come in. We positively want people to engage in what we do in Imperial, and we positively want to build a community rather than merely a university enclave.
Thank you. Alan Yentob.
Yes, I'm just lucky to be called creative, so that's but just seriously on matter for 1 minute. I have been involved, as Chris says, with the BBC's building for a long time, for the last, as we've tried to learn from the past and move forward. And I think this word creative is important. And there's another C word which relates to this, which is collaborative. Another one called community. And these 3 words fit together. The BBC is a community, but it's nothing if it doesn't communicate and engage with others. So to that extent, this idea, and